A spike in home loan fraud has been recorded. The South African Banking Risk Information Centre says a surge in application fraud coincides with an alarming 36% increase in digital banking fraud. Head of Buyers Trust, Jackie Smith, joins us for more on this matter. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Jackie. How does this type of fraud occur? I would assume that personal details are required.
Hi, Dumasan. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what this is about. You know, we've seen an alarming increase in, like you said, in home loan fraud. And what that means is that there are two types of fraud that we basically look at here. And this is where you find that what we call fraud for home. And this is where you have applicants who misrepresent information on the application form that is submitted to financial institutions. And this is mostly done because you find that they've got limitations in their financial standing or in their loan eligibility. So they would then falsify documentation such as your bank statements and other payslips and those documents just to be able to pass the affordability assessment. Mm-hmm. And then you're also looking at sort of fraud for profit. This is where you've got either criminal syndicates or bank employees which sort of commits systematic fraud to defraud the bank or even a home seller out of a transaction. So they impersonate people, they use someone else's identification, so they steal personal information and they apply that to the credit facility.
Now, Jackie, this is a major concern, especially for unsuspecting victims, and I'm interested in finding out when SABRIC identifies a surge, how much of a major problem is this causing within the banking system?
It is a major problem, mostly because if you look at the statistics that was posted by SABRIC, the report indicated that there was an 8% year-on-year upswing in the home loan fraud, which amounted to a staggering 4.7 billion in losses for the financial institutions. So this is a billion higher than the estimated losses the year before. So, needless to say, the banks are very concerned about it, and specifically in the cyberspace perspective, you know, where phishing has become so rife, and people are impersonating, personal information is being stolen. So, yes, if you're looking at 4.7 billion, of course, it's a massive problem for South Africa.
Is there anything that's being done, especially on the side of legal authorities, the banking system itself, reporting this to the necessary authorities?
Yeah, you do have that, but what you find is that, you know, South Africa is quite behind when it comes to cyber fraud. You know, you've got a lot of cases that goes unreported, and also our SAP doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure to deal with all of this. So the banks are quite reliant on the individuals to take caution in the way they operate when they are engaging with the financial institution, or whether it's the attorneys or estate agents or whoever's involved in, for instance, a property transaction, that they take the necessary caution and that they, be vigilant around what they are clicking on, what they're reading, what they are filling in when they are disclosing or sharing their personal information. So from that perspective, you know, unless it's known to the bank, you know, they are dependent on the person who's suffering the loss, which sometimes is way too late to notify them, and then, you know, afterwards the necessary action is taken.
And it sounds like the biggest onus here to raise a red flag is the victim once you become or fall prey to this particular type of fraud. The recourse that exists in this country, we've got the likes of the banking ombud, SABRIC playing a role in terms of ensuring that there's proper practice that is conducted. What's to be said about that front?
Yeah, definitely. But like I said earlier, you know, sometimes when this fraud is detected, it's too late. You need to take the precaution. You need to take the action beforehand. You need to arm yourself, because there is no insurance against cyber fraud as such. You know, sometimes once you've discovered that your money is gone, it's too late. There's absolutely no way that your money can be recovered. So the banks take the necessary precautions. They notify you. There's so much information around this type of fraud or similar cybercrime and phishing out on the internet, out in the market. But still, the dependency is on the individual to take that precaution.
Lastly, what's needed within the banking system in South Africa that would protect the end user, being the consumer?
I think mostly the bank needs to encourage individuals to deal with reputable institutions, for them to make sure that when you are making massive financial transfers, such as, for instance, a deposit for a house, that you're using a platform that is secure, that there's sufficient security in place for you, and that you check who you're dealing with. It can only come from the individual. You cannot put the reliance on the bank. The bank does give you the sufficient information. It's up to you as the person who's dealing with that transaction to make sure that you've taken the right precautions.
Thank you so much for your insights. Head of Buyers Trust, Jackie Smith, they're talking to us about the surge in home loan fraud.